So at 6 o'clock, we'll call this meeting to order. If everyone could please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all.
Jan, could you please do the roll call?
Tom Broderick.
Here.
Stephen Garvey. Here. Darlene Cooper. Here. Sarah Coleman. Here. Heather Reynolds. Here. Sue Russell. Dennis Spalding. Here.
If all the attendees could please sign in if you have not already, so we have the proper, names and information for the minutes, please. And next, we are lucky enough to have our CD Tech presentation with our district superintendent, Dr. Mark.
And would this be okay if I stood here? I know I'm going to turn the floor over to Dr. Slattery momentarily, but I want to thank you, President Garvey, Vice President Coleman, members of the board Clerk Ms. Atwell, Superintendent Dr. Myers, your administrative team, retirees, public, yes, and our CDS colleagues as well for our business office, shared business office. Thank you for the opportunity for us to present this evening. It's our privilege and my privilege to come back and see some friends and colleagues from a few years ago through the merger process, but your district holds a very special place in my heart, having worked with your former two districts and now your district, and it's a privilege to come back as a district superintendent. It's also an honor to work with Dr. Myers, who I know recently completed his doctorate, and I was privileged and pleased to help attend his doctoral presentation, his final presentation, colloquium, at the Sage Graduate School, and he did an amazing job, and he's a strong leader among our chief school officers. He's our vice chair of our workers' compensation consortium, also an active and vibrant leader within our chief school officers group. Highly respected, brings a great voice to the table, and also a lot of great ideas. So he represents your district very, very well. He also works very well with all of our colleagues as well, and it's a privilege to work with him in our roles. So Dr. Myers, thank you for your leadership and your service. I'd also like to acknowledge your board president, Mrs. Garvey, who is also a CBS board member, does a great job. It's a privilege to have her work with us on our CBS board, representing your district, but also representing all 16 school districts and the almost 14,000 students. So we really appreciate, CBS appreciates your work, your time, your commitment, and I know in addition to your role here. So thank you for serving as a CBS board member.
Thank you.
It's our pleasure, my privilege to work with you as the superintendent. So I'd like to start off this evening and just acknowledge that you have a folder of information in front of you, and included in your folder is really, first of all, a beautiful new folder from our special education division, the Rise Center for Success. Dr. Slattery, who is our executive director of special education, will be presenting to you and providing an overview. It has a great program to be able to share this evening, so I'm going to be very brief. But I do want to acknowledge the wonderful folder that he has, that he can talk about the different programs and everything that's highlighted here. We also want to share inside the folder are some handout sheets. On the left-hand side, you have the information from the Rise Center of Success that Dr. Slattery is going to speak about. On the right-hand side, you have our summary sheet, and I'll just acknowledge that. And then you have various fact sheets. And I'll mention the fact sheets first, and then we'll come back and look at our summary sheet, and then I'll turn the program over to Dr. Slattery. We have our CVS fact sheet for 24-25, which provides a brief overview about CVS BOCES, what we do, our history, our component districts, as well as the role of district superintendent. And on the back side is really a snapshot of all of our various divisions and programs and publishers. Boquet Valley is very much a strong user of our services. We appreciate that, and we're so pleased to share the leadership with you, as well as all of our programs and services that we offer, including our central business office with Mr. Hayden and Mr. Manette for their work. And we're so pleased that you're part of that service as well. With that acknowledgement, we have our CV Tech program information. We have our school support services. I know 2 years ago, Ms. Friedman came and shared information with you about with your students. Then last year, Ms. Campbell came and talked about school support services. And we also have a handout for management services, which Mr. Reedy and Mr. Net are part of the management services division, but you also have an overview of the various coasters there that are highlighted on the summary sheet. So the last page that I will just briefly talk about is just acknowledge the summary sheet that you see, which includes a summary of all of your services. First and foremost, you'll notice that we have your BOCES 8 ratio for 24-25 is at the 36%. And that's it really due in much to the fact of your wealth ratio. So it is the level that's basically the lowest level that the state allows based on your ratio and the school finances that related to very much for your property value. But so when you do invest in CVS services, you get 36 cents back on the dollar. So there is some incentivization from the state. A couple of other school districts are in the same standing. For example, Spruce Lake and Keene are two other districts that, there's quite a bit of property value within their district, and that has a direct impact on the A ratio. We have other districts that receive quite a bit more, up as high as 80%. But again, their property value and the income in those districts is much lower than yours. So that's the way that the state has determined. There has been consideration and work with the Rockefeller Institute this year to actually look at that and see if they can make adjustments, especially where there's a disparity. Because in your case, there's a high property value, but the income within your district is not comparable to some of the other areas, so it really presents a false number for your district. And I know the board is very familiar with that in your business offices as well. But let's talk about the positive. Say you're a strong user of our administrative services with both our administrative capital budget and all those various areas, including our health insurance and workers' compensation consortium and all the other areas. That consortium now is over $110 million. And there's approximately 4,500 policies and 10,000 lives in that policy. That includes your teachers, your retirees, their families, and so on and so forth. There is coordination, for example, within CVS, and over the years, our benefits office has helped save millions of dollars for that consortium. So there's a direct impact, and I know Dr. Myers, you've been an active participant in our board of directors, and really helping make those leadership decisions. You can see for our career and technical program, CTE, currently we have 25 Boquet Valley students who are participating. We're excited to see your participation. We're using a 5-year average. And I am pleased to share, as we're moving forward, expanding and updating our programs, that our enrollment in the Mineville campus is very strong. It's basically doubled over the last decade. And next year, we are at the request of our districts in the South, we're actually adding a welding program. So your students will have the option, in addition to construction trades and auto technology and the CNA program and the law and law enforcement program, there's also going to be a welding program that will be a new offering as of next year. We then have on the last page a summary of our special education services that Dr. Slattery is going to discuss and give you details about the various aspects and the itinerant services as well. Just an outstanding level of programs and services, and then our school support services that Ms. Campbell talked about last year with the various areas of support. And lastly, there are cross contracts available for services that we don't offer, but you can take advantage from the other BOCES in the state. So it really is a comprehensive list of services, and you're a strong user of the BOCES services to maximize your participation. The incentivization reimbursement at the 36% is helpful. We are continuing to advocate to raise that, and want you to know that that's something that is under consideration all the time at the state level. But it does take time, and I know with the Rockefeller Institute and the report that's coming out, there were direct recommendations related to making that coast rate ability more equitable, especially where you have situations where you have a high property value and a lower income value within your district. But it is our privilege this evening to share and to turn the floor over to Dr. Matthew Slattery. He is now in his 5th year at CVS. He is our executive director of our special education program. We've had significant growth within our program, our autism program, our life skills, our academic support, our itinerant services. He's done a great job really bringing the team together. All of our teachers and assistants and aides are all certified within for our special education training. And Dr. Slattery, I'm going to turn the floor over to you and just really say it's my privilege to turn the floor over to Dr. Slattery, who's doing a great job. Also working with all of your special education staff and your leadership. And I know you have a new director of special education, Dr. Mangello, who has recently become your director of students, I believe, student services or student support services. So, Dr. Slattery, I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Dr.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening to the Boquet Valley school community. It's my privilege and honor to be here with you tonight to talk about what we do at the Rise Center for Success and the essential service.
Did not know prior to being on the board that the Rise Center does. And the amazing programming and the opportunities that these students get. I mean, last year when we had a student came back and he is going to Clarkson this year from graduating out of the Rise Center. I mean, those opportunities would not be available to these students if there was not the significant programming that you have. The trades technical education program, I mean, I can speak with different hats for that because my son is a junior and enrolled in that program. And the amount of opportunities that students get, especially in the trades now, which are very needed. And it's eye-opening to have the kids come and speak and say, you know, if I hadn't had this saved me in many different ways, you know, from a home life that might not be good to an educational experience in their home school that they just didn't feel like they fit in, to finding their people and their place. To everything that Ms. Campbell does for the supports behind the scenes that everyone, I mean, they have no idea how a school works, and the support that we get from the business office and purchasing and just all of those different aspects. It's incredibly eye-opening, and it's a wonderful experience to be able to sit on the CVS board and experience all these things firsthand.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's exciting for us. And I know that there's going to be a school board association meeting coming up on the 30th. It's about regionalization. And there's been some negativity about it, especially downstate. But as a region, our strength is we work together. Our strength from the BOCES is that when our districts ask for help, we then work with them to try to put programs in place to meet your needs. So as a region, and I appreciate the downstate having concerns, but the North Country is a very special place. We have involved communities. We have dedicated staff. We really are some of our strongest abilities are to work together to help meet the needs of our students and do it at a high level. And, you know, the programming that we're offering, and we have students in our special education program that come an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. They come from other BOCES to come to our programs because of the quality of the program. And that's not a normal thing. Normally, the students will go to their own BOCES, but when they come to our programs, they're getting that extra level of support. They're also getting a really caring environment. And that's something we've worked hard to maintain, and we really continue to support it. So that's something with your support, meeting your district's needs and helping you in any way possible. That's part of our role as the BOCES. And I know the shared business office, we're so pleased that you're a member of that as well. To be able to have us help you, meet your financial needs as well, to have a well-run district, and also have the support from us that we can bring with our whole team. So we're pleased to be a partner with you, and we want to continue to have that strong relationship. But happy to answer any other questions, but I do hope you'll come to the 30th. Dr. Myers, I know we were talking about it today, and we hope that you'll come. So we have David Frank, who's an assistant commissioner from State Ed, who is the chief of staff for the commissioner. So he is a senior level who's at the right hand of the commissioner. He's also helping, lay the groundwork and for the regionalization initiative and why it's important. Across the state, over 70% of the districts have participated in the survey. We have right now 13 out of 16, and we'll have 14 out of 16 who will have submitted very likely by the end of the week. So, there is strong participation with our district. We've got an initiative with a Dr. Daggett. If any of you know Dr. Bill Daggett at all, world-renowned, nationally known expert on school change and school leadership, is going to be working with our chief school officers and our leaders first week in February. And we've got a program that we're working with him. So we may be in the North Country, but I'll share with you, we're on the cutting edge of many of these things and leading the state in many areas that we're providing support for your staff, for your leaders, for your students. And we're pleased to do that, and we want to keep continuing that at a high level. Any other questions? I know you've got a full agenda and you've got a full program in front of you, but we thank you for the opportunity to come and share. Gary, thank you as well.
Thank
And-
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
So before we go into executive session, I just had a announcement that, due to some reasons out of my control at the moment, I am going to resign as the school board president. Anyone can make their assumptions as to what it is, the reason why, but, I am very happy working with any of the administration of the school district. I've been advised for medical reasons to resign as president of the board. So that being said, as my last action as board president, Jana, if we could open up the floor for recommendations, nominations for the next board president. So, I will, open this up, and I, make a nomination for Heather Reynolds to be, president. There's many reasons for this, but I'm going to start out by saying we are approaching budget season. Heather is a veteran school board member and has been a past president. I feel as though having somebody with experience going into budget season, it makes sense. So, I nominate Heather, and I'm looking for, seconds or other nominations.
I'll second. Heather served us well, is a great leader for us. It has most experience at the moment.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in, oops, go ahead.
I just was gonna say thank you for your time as president.
Yes, thank you.
It's
All
a
the things go well.
thankless job, and especially this past year. It's been very difficult, so thank you.
Yeah. So if are there any further nominations or any discussion? So being none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries, and congratulations.
Brought tremendous insight from both county perspective and stuff.
Yes, thank you, Dana. Thank you. So,
staying on the board?
we'll discuss that. in executive session. So, I'm handing it over to you.
Do I need to do anything, Jana, or just carry on?
No, we'll need to swear you in.
Okay.
Okay. Ready? Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of school board president.
I will.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so it looks like our next step is we're having into executive session. We anticipate entering into executive session to discuss the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or persons. But I have a motion to go into executive session.
I move.
Thank you. Any discussion? How long do you think will be?
I'm hoping 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries to be back as soon as possible. Okay, can I get a motion to return to regular session?
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to the approval of minutes, looking to approve the minutes of the December 10th regular board meeting as presented. Could I get a motion?
So moved.
Thanks, Sue. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. We have a public comment. We offer 2 sessions. Opinions, ideas, and concerns that are offered by the public will be considered and taken under advisement by the board. We've set aside 15-minute period, giving the audience time to share their thoughts with us. Please raise your hand to be acknowledged by the board president. And when called upon, please identify yourself and give your address, limiting your comments to 3 minutes. Would anybody like to, anybody have a public comment? Seeing no hands, move along to financials. Looking to approve financial reports 1 through 13. Could I get a motion? And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. 10 on the agenda, CSE recommendations. Accept and approve following recommendations. Student 540 and 12710. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Action items, our consent agenda, A through E. Could I get a motion?
Make a motion.
Thanks, Tom. In a second? Thank you, Sue. Discussion?
I just have a question. All of these accounts under C, I, 1 and 2, does that mean they're going to be closed completely or they're just moving over to a different account?
Yeah, Hayden, do you want to answer this one? Yeah, so none of the scholarships are closing. What happens right now is we get from the bank a good stack of statements like this every month. So we're just moving it into one account. They'll all be tracked separately still. It's just, we're just moving all those funds. That's why later in the agenda, or maybe right before, you see the opening of a new account.
Okay.
So that they're just gonna be moved into one account rather than having 30 different.
Thank you.
Any more questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Personnel consent agenda number 12, A through G as presented. Could I get a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. And a second? One second. Thanks, Sarah. Any discussion? I was wondering, our sub pay looks like it went up quite a bit. We did talk, and I think we got information on how we compare to other schools. We're pretty on par with other schools in the area, and how are we having some issues, or do we seem to have a good bus this year?
Yeah, so usually this time of year, we take a look at all these rates and ensure that we are minimum wage. And that is usually the precipice for the adjustment. This covers that, and there's a little bit more. So that's a little higher than the wage. We are like other schools in the area. Most days of subs, we're okay. There's certainly are days where, where everything isn't covered and we get some income coverage. But let's say, as far as subs go, we are. I wouldn't go that far. I'd say we are okay.
Last spring, it seemed like we were dire.
Yeah, I think we are better than that. I think I say, okay. I certainly would not say that things are perfect in terms of supply. I don't know if there's a district in the state that would say.
No. Any more questions or discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. No new policies at this time. We'll move along. I haven't seen Ms. Dixon across here.
Actually, Dr. Angelo is going to do what's.
Good evening, congratulations.
Thank you.
First, I want to start off by saying, thank you for having me here. I've been here a few months now, and I'm very much enjoying my time here, getting to know the staff and the children and the members of the community. It's a really wonderful, vibrant community, and I'm very happy to be here. It's a very, very, very nice district. I just want to give you a brief overview of what we do in the Student Services Department. Just off the bat, I just want to say it's in good shape. I'm happy to inherit a program that's running quite well. It's very nice to see how everything just works so fluidly and coherently. If you just go to the next slide, please. So we oversee a variety of programs and supports designed to meet the diverse needs. As Dr. Slattery mentioned earlier, it includes managing 504 plans, individualized education programs, and preschool special education, CPSE, as well as ensuring compliance with state and federal regulations, providing accommodations and supporting student success across academic, social, and emotional domains. A quick overview of the student programs. We have a pre-K enrollment of 29 students overall participating in early education programs. We have approximately 24 students on 504 plans. 504 plans different from IEP plans. They focus primarily on health concerns, health and medical concerns, but at times they could seep into different types of accommodations and services. We have 75 students on IEPs, individualized education programs, receiving specialized instruction and services tailored to their unique needs. And in the preschool, we have 5 preschool students receiving services of special education. This is our classification rate over the last 4 years. This isn't the final number for this year, but I suspect it's going to land right around here. It seems like it's a huge jump, but it's really from 18 to 19%. I don't expect it to go up much higher or much lower because each student that becomes classified only really accounts for about 0.25%. So you have to have a lot of kids coming in or leaving or becoming classified or being declassified to move away from that number, which is good because I think we have a solid structure in place that's flexible and adaptable to the needs that we have. And in conjunction with CDS, we're able to meet the needs of all the students in the district. So right now we're at 19%.
Good.
Yep. Thanks. Currently, we're involved in an initiative with the State Education Department. Every year, we're involved in reporting on one of 13 indicators that measure and monitor the success of special education programs for districts. We're preparing for indicator 8, which is part of the performance plan, and this measures parental involvement to improve services and outcomes for students with disabilities. And this focuses on school engagement with parents and special education programs. So we're going to look at the results from surveys that have gone out, and take a look at that and respond with, what we come up with, what we think could be helpful and beneficial to members of the community. To improve communication and implement data-driven improvements. With the goal of strengthening parent-school partnerships to support better outcomes for students with disabilities. And we are going to be preparing for our annual review season right about now. Until the end of the school year, we conduct meetings for each of our students that have IEPs. And what we do is we take a look at the current data, their progress, we look at the goals that they're all working on. We work with the teachers, we work with the student. One of the things that I'm focusing on this year is inviting the students to the meetings, grades 5 and up. So I'd like to see increased participation by the students, because I think they need to be invested in their own plans. I've seen a lot of success when we get the number of participation of the students up. But what I've discovered is a lot of times kids don't even know they have IEPs, sometimes. So having them, we set them up, we make them put them at the head of the table, and then make them feel special, and we let them know that they're a member of the committee and that their participation is vital to their own success. So we're setting up for these meetings, which I anticipate them starting in February. And we have to do about 75 of them. We have to have more because we also have some 504 meetings as well. But we're getting ready for that. And the results of that will guide what the programming and what school will look like for them for next year. So again, we're going to be reviewing their progress data, collaborating with their service providers, speech, occupational therapy, physical therapy, psychological services. And we need to make sure all the documentation is accurate, up to date. The IEPs are reviewed for accuracy. And we have a discussion at the CSE meeting where we work together to find what's working, what's not, and then decide on the plan for the following year. And that's all I have for you. Does anyone have any questions?
I understand you've implemented a co-teaching model this year at the elementary level. Can you tell me how that's going?
I think it's really good. I think in a small district, we have less pieces to move on board to address needs. And I think that this model, where you have a special education teacher teaching alongside a general education teacher, I think it allows the flexibility to meet the needs of the students, and being able to service the numbers of students that we have appropriately.
They're in the same classroom at the same time.
They're in the same classroom at the same time. Yeah, there's 2 teachers in there.
Is that both buildings?
We have that, we have that program in both buildings.
Do the students still have an opportunity to get the individualized instruction from the special education teacher at a different time?
Not in that particular program, but some students that require more support have the opportunity to be pulled out if their IEP calls for that.
At their
Not
level?
individualized in our resource room, which is part of the continuum. There's a range of services on the continuum. And some students participate in the resource room where there could be up to 5 students.
Are there any students that get individual attention plan for their?
The programming, student programs aren't one-to-one. With students that need more support, they may have a one-to-one aide. And the aide works with them along with the teacher, but there are no one-to-one programs. If they require more intensive programs, we partner with CVS, and the programs down there could be 8-to-1, 8 students, 1 teacher, or 6-to-1. But I would think that the teachers work with the students individually at times throughout those periods. They're just not one-to-one in a classroom by themselves.
So do we have an Orton Gillian system? What kind of reading development system do we have for corrections there?
So we have the Amplify curriculum that's been implemented in elementary school. And we don't name any particular reading program in particular, but if a student needed a reading program, we would put that on the IEP at that time.
And the Amplified curriculum addresses what?
The Amplified curriculum is the curriculum for the elementary school. So they work on their ELA and their math deficiencies.
Are they able to do so at their own level, at that child's own level?
The program is responsive to the assessments that they get. And it works at different levels. Sometimes works above them, sometimes it works at their level, sometimes it works below their level, because it's trying to strengthen them and build confidence, and sometimes it's trying to test them. And it's scientific, and the goal of it is to measurably improve their progress over time. And we're seeing success with that. It's not a special education program. The teachers work with that curriculum. And they can set goals around that curriculum to work with the students.
So the special education teacher for the children who are behind in reading is never one-on-one with the students who need reading instruction.
It could be if they have on their IEP, if they have a reading program on their IEP, they could potentially be working with them one-on-one.
And how many students do we have who have a reading program on their IEP?
I don't know that number right now, but I
Do you
think
have an idea? Like,
maybe less than 5.
Any other questions? Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank
yes, thank you. That was
Thanks for
really nice.
taking our
Thank you.
questions.
Thank you very much.
Looks like you're up, Dr. Meyer, with your superintendent update.
Okay, all right, so starting off with grants. No major UPK grant updates this time. We are awaiting the state aid runs, I should say the governor's proposal for state aid runs. We usually get those for the end of January. I think January 23rd is the deadline for those. And that's when we see our UPK number for next year, and you can see how the grants will be affected based on that number. We have our ESSA that's our title money that's been submitted and approved. When we work with CDES from their grant writers for that. IDEA 611 and 619, that's the special education grants. Those have been submitted and approved. Our mid-year report for our extended school day grant, that's the OASIS program. That mid-year report is due at the end of the month, and our session 4 is well underway here. And we do have a freshman class that has a Brilliant Pathways trip that is scheduled out of that grant. So our grants are all in good shape, I guess, is the summary of that. Our facilities committee, those meetings continue to go on. Our next meeting is on January 23rd. That's 2 Thursdays from today. That's 5:30 at Lakeview campus.
Do I actually have the same night as the budget meeting?
You're jumping ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah. We're gonna talk about that. The meeting notes, presentations, and recordings of those are on the website. To access those, there's a one-page summary of each month's presentation that I think does a nice job talking about what happened there. So January is the month we talk about the state of the district. So I have some data points for you here. So we're going to first get into the demographics of the district. 397, that was the number of students we had on Beds Day. Beds Day is the day in October, where it's just a snapshot. 397. We are up to 403 is the number of students we have today. But 397 is where we were in October, and that's the number we use to compare one year from next. You can see where you take a look at some of our other demographics. One of the numbers I do want to point out is the FERPL, the free and reduced price lunch. This number continues to drop, and it continues to drop across the state. And the reason for that is in order for someone to be eligible for this, they have to fill out the paperwork. There is little incentive to fill out the paperwork now because so many districts like ours give free breakfast and lunch to all of the students. So that where if you go back, we've been giving free meals for a while now, but say going back 10 years when I know we were doing that in either district. If you went that families would need to fill out the paperwork in order for their children to do it. So there's a little bit more incentive for that to happen. So that number continues to drop. This coincidentally is one of the numbers we're going to talk about next month when we start getting into some budget discussions. This is one of the numbers that goes into the foundation aid formula. So as this number continues to drop across the state, it gives the appearance as though that financially our residents are doing better financially, when that is just not happening. So one of the Rockefeller report did talk about other ways that they could get that same information that they're going after without using that number. We total 120 employees, 6 administrators, 69 instructional staff, 38 non-instructional staff, and 8 BOCES or NARIC staff members. This includes like our business folks that were here tonight, our IT department, and things like that. Our facilities. I don't think that this is news to anybody. The state of our facilities, we certainly have been talking about these for a while. Our building condition surveys were recently done, and those will be reported on in a subsequent meeting. But our Lakeview campus, we have our main building over there. As a reminder, that bus garage over there has officially been changed to a storage building. So it's no longer a bus garage. We had some issues with state ed on that because of that, and then we have the storage garage that's also happening. The Mountain View campus, we have the main building here and then the bus garage across the street. The facilities have had the building condition survey completed just a couple months ago in November. As per the New York State regulations, they're required every 5 years. We did do that. We did that a couple months ahead for that facilities committee so they could get the most updated information. Lakeview roof is nearing completion. Someone asked today, and I assured them it would be done by Thanksgiving, which is a joke. And they are installing the final piece, the flashing around the sides that is being installed, and I do have a call scheduled for tomorrow to really find out what their what date they will be out of here. That comes along quickly. Certainly the heating system over at Lakeview is a concern, and the bus garage around the campus and the boilers around the campus, those are probably the biggest concerns that we are currently looking at and will be part of our budget discussions. In terms of academics, if you take a look at our ELA testing rate, the one thing I do want to point out, and this is, I just think, really amazing as a district, is our participation rate is among the highest in our BOCES region, among the highest in the state. We have districts in our region who have participation rate in the teens for 20%, and that so it's difficult, you know, when you look at comparing our district to other districts, it's difficult to say, well, this is our proficiency rate, and 97% of our students took this test, compared to a district who maybe has a higher proficiency rate, but they have 25 or 30% of their students taking the test. So that's been something I've always been pretty happy about, is our participation rate. Obviously, there's some work to do in these numbers up here. And we continue to discuss those. This was one of the main reasons that we looked at the new reading program for this year. And we're hearing good things about that. So hopefully we see those numbers start to increase. If you look at our math proficiency, again, numbers remain pretty high in terms of participation. And the proficiency, we see the rates here. Again, similar comments that very happy with the participation, proficiency rates. Would like to see those increase, and we continue to work on those as well. The next one here, talking about science. This is very important for any of you who have been who are familiar with the elementary science test. Historically, it was a 4th and 8th grade science test. Historically, those tests, while trying to give those tests as much respect as possible, they were very easy tests. Proficiency rates on those tests across the state usually were in like the 80s or 90% across the state. So New York State changed those tests. It's now a 5th grade test and still an 8th grade test. And these tests are much more rigorous, much more difficult tests. Last year was the first year that those tests were given. So again, great participation rate, and our proficiency rate was not unlike some of our neighbors in the district. As a former science teacher, I am pleased to see the rate of those tests increase, but certainly there's some work to do there as well with the science group. Our reading exams, our ELA scores remain among the highest in the region. Usually there's 1 or 2 other districts where we kind of go back and forth for the top spot for our ELA proficiency rates. Overall, we're looking at a 70% proficiency rate. There are certainly some highlights in this list. There are certainly some lowlights in this list. We continue to look at those and work with our teachers and work on those.
What's the raw score that is considered proficiency? 85?
80. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So 85 is mastery. 65 is proficiency.
55 is considered mastery.
Yes. If you look at our graduation rate, 92%. That 92% is also, so last year was 92%. 92% is also our overall graduation rate for since we merged. And then if you look here, going back to 2018-19 and before, that's the combined average graduation rate. Just to give you some background there. So give you a moment to look at those, and then the advanced Regis diploma over here. So in terms of significant budget factors, where do we put our resources? So we have a pretty robust master schedule in terms of what is offered, certainly for our size. I'm very happy with a lot of the advanced courses, the college level courses, the advanced placement courses, and the electives that we offer for our students. In terms of student opportunities, our athletics, the clubs that we offer, and the field trips, those are pretty robust. We offer a variety of early interventions. We have been spending some money on some of the deferred maintenance, still trying to be a little bit reserved about that until we have a long-term solution for coming out of the facilities committee. Technology initiatives, we like any other district, we have technology needs. Things like internet, Wi-Fi, cybersecurity, all those kinds of things, devices, and then I mean like Chromebooks for students, the devices for teachers and the staff, all those kinds of things need to continually be updated. We, over the past handful of years, we certainly put a lot of resources into social emotional learning, our mental health, and our school and community partnerships. Our total budget is right around $15.6 million. So by the numbers, what we're doing well, again, as I mentioned, the participation rates are really fantastic. Very pleased with those. Region score, we have some highlights for sure in terms of region scores, particularly our ELA regions, our graduation rate. You know, in a small district, I certainly think that we continue to strive for 100% graduation rate, but again, comparatively across the region and across the state, ours is high. Our advanced course offerings and our extracurricular opportunities. That's what I would consider our strengths. Potential improvement, absolutely. Some of these scores, the ELA math scores, aligning our curriculum. We've done a pretty good job with that with our ELA this year with that new program. Well, we certainly need some work with the math and with science, and increasing rigor across the board, and always with the intervention strategies. Also, the technology improvement and alignment, that's never ending, right? That always could. Big takeaways. So we know what areas need to improve. We have targeted areas, and we continue to work on those. We know that we're providing our students with opportunities and experiences. I think that was one of the main promises out of the merger that we were going to do for the students. And I really do think that that's an area that we really succeed in. We're providing the students with several extracurricular options, and I don't know, that 10 years ago, that we would have had the discussions that we've needed, the discussions that, not just internally, but with community partners, with all those things about mental health, social emotional learning, that we've just had so many resources that they needed in those areas, and that has been K through 12. And I'm very pleased that we've been able to do that for our students. And certainly in terms of safety support and opportunities, I think that we're doing a lot of great things, but there's certainly work to do. Last thing I have for you. So when we gave you the original budget meeting, or I should say board meeting calendar at the beginning of the year, we had 2 dates that were on there, January 23rd and March 27th. Those would be like second meetings of the month. That was our former business manager was pretty adamant about having those meetings in place. Working with Hayden and Kelsey, we're pretty confident that we can add those on to the February, March, and April board meetings to keep us here one night. That also opens us up to the facilities committee. The 23rd, we aren't guaranteed to have the governor's budget by the 23rd, and that presents a lot of just planning issues, for us in terms of having a budget meeting without having that information. So that would be my proposal, would be to remove those 2 meetings from the calendar. And as I mentioned, we feel confident that we can get all the discussions we need over the next few months as part of our regular board meeting. Yep.
You just said, the formation of the school budget, to me, is one of the most important responsibilities of the school board. And having gone through this process 3 times in the past as a former board member, I know there's a lot of information to digest and a lot of important decisions to be made. So personally, I do not believe that we should try to condense the budget process by trying to add it on to regular board meetings. I believe that we should still have actual budget meetings where we can focus our full attention to that process of formulating a good budget proposal for the public. That's my opinion.
I'm gonna have to second that. I mean, with being new, I would feel like I was being pressured to try to get everything done in one night.
To try to condense it into a regular board, I mean, we have a lot, you see how long.
Budget at every board meeting.
Yeah,
So
we
even in our regular board meetings, it's still budget meeting too. We just added extra budget meetings on. I would agree that the 123 meeting, I've never found that January budget meeting very helpful because we just don't have the information we need to go yet. It's kind of, we have like the very minimal. until we have the governor's budget. So I
Right.
would agree on that. I think we might want to keep the 327 one open just in case.
Okay.
I would like
I
to
would agree
see,
with that.
I would like to see separate budget meetings. Not
We
this.
do,
We do.
we do,
But I
but
thought it was, you were proposing just eliminating the
eliminating
separate.
two separate.
So so right now on so the way that we've done it historically is we've had, as part of the board meeting, a portion of that has been used for the budget meeting. In addition to that, there's been a second meeting in January and March. Occasionally, I think it was 2 of the last 5 years in February, kind of depending on where the break fell. So sometimes we've had it February, sometimes we haven't. So, but what I was saying and what I think I just heard Heather say was that January meeting, there's not a lot of information to discuss. We don't often have the state ones at that point.
Okay, I
There's
understand.
I mean, the governor's runs. So I have not seen a lot of value to the January meeting. I'm fine with leaving the March one on there. We can see where we're at. You know,
We don't need one in February.
Well,
we
school
have
break,
a February
we
board
probably
meeting.
wouldn't be able to get, we have the February board meeting. We don't typically have one every February just because it's a short month and school break is during that time, so people can't usually make it. But the other, I think we have 2 in May and April.
There are 2 scheduled in April.
Yeah.
Well, the board meeting and then the adoption.
I just added them to
April.
my calendar.
Yeah, so if we got rid of the January one, it would just be removing 1 meeting.
Then we can see how it goes. It is a confusing, especially being first time on the board. The budget is very confusing.
Well, I've gone through the process and I
Oh,
know
that's
that
right.
it's very time consuming and you need to focus.
You also know that we don't have much information that you.
Oh, I realize that, but I thought he was proposing getting rid of.
Can you see where
All of
we
the
are in
separate-
February?
Yeah, yep. Okay, so just to confirm, we're good with eliminating we're just looking at eliminate January 23rd right now.
Okay.
Okay,
I can't make
All
that
right.
one.
and then we'll see about that.
I can, do it.
All right, and I believe that's all I have. Any questions?
Thank you. Okay, we're looking at our last public comment. Same rules apply, 15-minute period, giving the audience time to share their thoughts. About 3 minutes. Please raise your hand if you acknowledge me. If you would like to speak, give your name and address, and I'm happy to. Yes, please.
Lewis. I just have a question about, you had up on the screen, advanced placement courses. What do they offer here at this?
I'm sorry, Ms. Bean, but we do public comment during this section. We don't have a back and forth discussion just because it's difficult, but Josh, he's very good at answering questions. So either after the, well, we could go to the executive session, but we could give you his email or his phone number and you could go over that with him.
Well, it's on the website. isn't it?
Okay. Oh, I think so, but he'd be happy to write it down for you. I'm sorry to do that. I think in the past.
Oh,
years,
okay,
sometimes
well,
they're
he had it up there and it's like,
I
what do
know.
they offer? I haven't heard that in years since my daughter was in high school.
Is there
They had
anything in there?
advanced placement in
Does
Westport.
Jana have a list right now that you can use?
I don't, so.
Okay.
So I'm just curious what the district offers.
I can give you. Is that, you can do that after we share the executive session? You can talk with it?
I can get your email address, I can get that.
Okay.
Okay. That'll be helpful. Any other comments? Hi, Cindy.
Hi, Cindy Monty Lewis. Just an observation. I know you don't answer questions in this format, but the information in the agenda regarding the increased borrowing or the increased amount for the roof replacement in Westport is like double what it was originally. And I'm just curious about why that is, or maybe I misunderstood it, but going from 750,000 to 1,150,000, I think.
Yeah, is that something you could ask administration via email and they can get back to it. There's good answers for that. Thank you. Any other comments? Wonderful. Thank you. All right, Tom. So we're going to executive session, to discuss the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or persons. Could I get a motion to enter? I'll move. Thank you. And a second?
I second it.
Thank you. Discussion? Do we have any action coming out of that?
No action coming out.
No. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Thanks everyone for coming.
Yes, thank you very much.